Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to LOL Park for game number 2, DAMWON versus DRX. DAMWON remain undefeated on the blue side for the last 25 games, but now DRX are going to be wearing blue, much are their team colors. So maybe this will give them an opportunity, LS, to get themselves a win. We are straight into Champion Select. We're not messing around here. And already all of the bans have come through. Syndra, Camille, and Lilia all taken away by DRX. And there is the Renekton, Caitlyn, and Lucian bans over on the side of DAMWON. And that will leave up the Nidalee for Pyosik to steal away.
Yeah, Nidalee is just going to be locked in as the B1 for DRX. Let's see how DAMWON want to respond to this now. This is definitely going to be interesting.
Twisted Fate is available.
Yeah, TF is available. Graves just going to get locked in yet again.
Yeah, Cowboys are going to be taken away here by DAMWON. So that TF and the Graves, very coveted picks here. DRX probably not surprised that these are the options that they went for, and Chovy will be able to head towards his Galio. I know there's a lot of people that don't like when Chovy picks the Galio, but we had the pleasure of watching some game-winning plays on that particular champion when they took down Gen G in their second match in the summer split. That was purely off Chovy's Galio. So is something that I'm okay with seeing, and it is going to be locked away, as you can see. Win rate not very high. Let's see whether Chovy can change that here.
The thing that's very surprising about this, though, again, is that Chovy's in yet another lane where he doesn't have control early on. That's just the dynamic of Twisted Fate versus Galio, and this is going to mean that Canyon is going to be pretty free to do whatever he wants inside of the jungle. And so now, depending on what the other lane matchups are, we could just have another repeat. Now, Senna's coming in blind. We'll see if Ghost is willing to pilot any mages or the usual Senna answers down in the bot lane, or if he's just going to handshake or something. But no, they're going to actually lock up Ornn right now.
Yep, the Ornn coming in for Nuguri. He's demonstrated that he can play basically any style that DAMWON requires him to play. And in this game, it is going to be a meatball towards the top side of the map. The Forge God just going to sit there and then wait for level 13 and above and just upgrade everyone's stuff, which feels fantastic. Set going to be banned away, protecting that matchup. As potentially the Set Senna lane as well, something that they could be looking at. As DRX, let's see whether they take away something like the Jhin. It was something that Ghost was very, very comfortable on. Could be an option of removal.
Well, Kalista now going to be banned away by DRX.
Yep, this is a Ghost special. I used to play basically only Kalista for a really, really long time. This was on some of his previous teams, which weren't as noteworthy as some of the teams that he's made it to now, namely DAMWON.
And the thing is about the Kalista ban is I think that they're acknowledging that lane kingdom type things coming out of DAMWON can definitely be problematic, but there's also ways for DAMWON to even achieve better scaling options than just the Senna. Now, Ezreal is getting banned away from Ghost, so perhaps they were thinking that maybe DAMWON would just try to leave him on an island with the Ezreal and approach things differently via BeryL on the other side of the map. Very interested. We're going to see anything super unusual, but no, first we're going to get the Thresh.
So it is going to be Senna, Tahm, Kench by the looks of things, as that one is going to get locked away. A very stable lane that we've seen many, many times. Jackie Love, of course, in his extraordinary performances so far in the group stage, really utilizing that particular combo to great effect. Does mean that the Senna can play really far up, and that's how he was able to achieve such gigantic damage numbers. That and being an extraordinary AD carry. As Jack's being considered by Doran, that's going to be his anti-Ornn option, and that will be locked away here for DRX, who are continuing in more of a split-pushing vibe, much like that Sanguine Blade led us to believe.
And this is where a champion like Ziggs ends up being pretty much the nuts down in bot lane, because it would let DAMWON win bot. They'd have control in mid. Graves would be able to just deal near true damage in the later stages of the game because no one could get armor. But no, we're gonna see Aphelios come out for DAMWON.
We saw Ruler play this to pretty great effect for Gen G. Looking forward to seeing whether Ghost is going to be able to have a similar performance. Hasn't necessarily been his MO, because this is looking like a composition where Ghost is going to be relied upon a lot. But his Jhin was great in game number 1.
Yeah.
And so why not give him a little bit more agency and rely on him a little bit more to get that late game damage down? This is looking like a very well-rounded composition out of DAMWON, but DRX, they're rolling the dice and seeing what it comes up with. The Jack's in a side lane, he can get out of control, especially if he has the assistance of Pyosik around this map. And let's just see whether it's going to be, once again, Canyon dictating all of the moves at the beginning of this game.
Well, the scariest thing for me is that the mid lane dynamic, it puts ShowMaker in the driver's seat again. And what that means for Canyon is quite a lot, because Pyosik is going to have a little bit of a hard time playing. Jax is a very interesting insurance policy now for the DRX team composition, and no matter how you look at it, this draft is much closer than the one in the game before. So DRX, they have a lot more fighting power. Things can definitely go their way and become very explosive, and they have a lot more options available to them in this one.
The thing that I'm scared about is this Twisted Fate in the mid lane. We've seen him be so successful, especially in the hands of ShowMaker or Chovy. And I was expecting that to be banned in almost every single game. Coming into Worlds, coming into this series, not to be the case. This is going to be the gamble that DRX have taken for game number 2. Something that DRX do a lot, especially with CV Max at the helm. He has his weird and wonderful ideas, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And I'm looking forward to seeing whether giving away the Twisted Fate is something that they can capitalize on, whether this means that Pyosik is going to be helping out Chovy in that mid lane more often, or whether it is going to give a bit of that early to mid game power over to DAMWON that honestly DRX cannot afford to give away again.
Yeah.
We need to see so much more proactivity out of this team. We need to see so much more vision control and vision contesting, especially around these objectives. I mean, DAMWON are the best team so far statistically at Worlds when it comes to taking objectives, but DRX needs to challenge them like a little bit, please. Not like all of the Heralds in the early game, all of the Dragons in the early game. Of course, they did manage to get that one Infernal, but honestly, the damage had been done. And here we are onto Summoner's Rift for game number 2. DAMWON now on the red side. Their win rate there, still pretty high, but not as perfect as their win rate over the last many, many games on blue side.
And DRX, we take a look at the rune setups that they have. They have the Predator on Galio again.
Yep, it's
So
going to be a Conqueror Nidalee as well.
Yeah, a very interesting choice here, because I wouldn't imagine Pyosik to want to be having extended brawls with any of the members on the side of DAMWON, especially Nidalee's role in the early and mid stages of the game. So, ooh.
Cheeky sidestep there from Nuguri, gets him out of the way.
Yeah, fishing for an arrow, not actually going to find one.
Yep.
So Ghost and BeryL down here. It's been a while since we've seen Aphelios.
Indeed.
But he's been popping up a little bit more now at Worlds.
Yeah, I like it. I actually feel like there is, it's feeling a little bit more wide open than it may have looked at the beginning of groups. You know, it felt like there were a few AD carries that people were playing and then not too much more, but the pool just hasn't really been challenged all that much. And Aphelios is going to come out. The reason we saw it in Gen G games is because Rule is a pretty big deal for that team, which is why you see a few more bans heading his way.
And we'll see what Ghost and BeryL are going to manage to do down here with the spot lane. Obviously, Senna and Tahm, they don't really need an introduction to how they are as a duo. And Deft, one of the interesting things was him starting with Sapphire Crystal and Refillable Potion. Really speaks volumes to just how confident he is in his own safety inside of this lane.
Also confidence in the matchup against Ghost as well, despite how game 1 went. Deft certainly feeling like he's been able to beat Ghost quite a lot over his career. something that he hasn't really had too many issues with until the summer season of LCK 2020. Pyosik looking to hard farm his jungle. Ahead by a little bit as far as clear speed at this point in time, but no, actually Canyon is a camp ahead, so Pyosik just getting towards his red buff a little bit sooner. And the Raptors were taken there by Canyon, who's just going from camp to camp.
Yeah. And Canyon, I mean, he's on his golems already. He's full cleared. Pyosik just getting done with the Raptor camp, moving towards the left-hand side, and Chovy's actually done a very good job in this lane. All things considered, he actually managed to get Pryo over the TF early on, and so...
Yeah, going to be able to move up and try and stop Canyon from taking this Rift Scuttler as well, as Nuguri has inside track, but it is a 2 versus 3. Flashes going out everywhere as Canyon gets himself out of there. Teleport to come through from ShowMaker. Now it's a 3v3 as Pyosik pounces out of the way, but the prize will go to DRX in this first little skirmish.
Yeah, and Doran, one of the downsides for him is he ends up blowing his flash, and he also misses a bit of CS up in top lane, and so that can come back to bite him later, especially because he's the scaling one. We're not going to talk about that, actually.
I think that was just expecting to get the empowered pounce, but not actually landing the spear.
He was attempting to rupture the eardrums. ShowMaker. With the sonic boom from...
It's the long con.
So yeah, I got a thumbs up.
Yeah, perfect.
He heard me.
Yeah.
Because he's always MVP. Even last game.
Even after we removed the naming convention of MVP.
True.
Still the MVP.
That is actually true, yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
He was already the most pog, so he fits into that one as well. As Doran looks for a stun, but it's a great use of the Bellows Breath as Nuguri flashes aggressively underneath the turret. The Crab Rave comes through as Chovy's like, what were you doing there, buddy? And that is going to be first blood very comfortably delivered to the Gargoyle.
And that is definitely a Crab Rave.
That's some Nuguri stuff right there.
That was very unfortunate. From a mechanical standpoint, Canyon.
Yeah. Unaggressive here is Keria. Feeling a bit hungry. He's going to gobble up this big Krug, and Deft is going to be the one to reap the reward. Little one's going to head back. Canyon looking to try and block them off here as Ghost, trying to deny as much farm as possible. Infernum and Gravitum currently equipped, as Keria just likes pressing his DR button, I guess.
Yeah, and so DAMWON, they have very slight CS advantages everywhere, and that's why the gold lead is still not really that big for DRX. But this is definitely not the kind of early game opening that I was anticipating, and it makes me feel a little bit sad we didn't get more mid lane pans to see what was going on there. Because a lot of stuff has to be influenced by the minions and the auto attacks by ShowMaker with the aggro. That matchup was very important for DAMWON to have control over in the early stages, because right now, everything's going somewhat fine for DRX.
Yeah, and I think like you were talking about, I mean, we were worried about Chovy because he picked the Galio into the Twist of Fate and you don't necessarily have lane priority there. However, Chovy has managed to grab it anyway. Currently very, very even when it comes to the farm, and also does have that first blood gold that he can utilize. We'll see what he's going to be able to pick up here on his first back. And see which item he's going to head to first. Proto Belt probably expected, as ShowMaker going to turn back up as Chovy was trying to get another cheeky shove before he goes back home. Definitely a better start here for DRX, but can they actually keep it up is the question, because we've seen DAMWON fall so far behind, lose these early skirmishes, and it just feels like it doesn't matter.
Well, I mean, it definitely is feeling very much like game number 1, where not a whole lot is going on, but for DRX, they're sort of okay with it because they're still managing to achieve things that I think a lot of people would not have expected them to, and that's a big victory.
Yeah, nice work there from Pyosik. Just going to give up on the Gromp for the moment, but he is not going to be able to grab this Rift Scuttler. Secures his blue buff though, and that is definitely good news. Now, Lucidity Boots picked up by Chovy, going to be walking a bit faster, especially with that Predator that he does have, and also a little book. Hopefully it's not turned into another book. We don't like to talk about that one here. Ballpark is not the place. It's not much of a library, really, over here.
Not since Papa left.
No, our shelves have esports on them.
Yeah, true.
No books.
Definitely a Bible thump moment. As DRX, so the junglers right now, they don't really have any real way to create ganks on their own. That was a
BeryL. Yep, big taxi ride. Actually going to take some turret shots here as in goes the heroic entrance, but that's a lantern that Ghost's able to take out. Oh my goodness. The flash forward, the knock-up comes through. Double taunt from Chovy. He's looking for Ghost, but he's only down to 200 health. And in goes ShowMaker, flashes forward to guarantee the gold card as Keria not going to be able to keep his team alive now as the gargoyle falls down, and it's now 1-1. Deft still looking for more. As Keria, I believe, had the Devour back off cooldown just then, but it wasn't enough to keep his mid laner alive.
And so at the end of it, Chovy is the only one that ends up going down. Rod of Ages almost going to be complete now for Twisted Fate. Canyon, he's just going to go back into power farming. Twisted Fate might just go mid lane, shove in the wave, and then reset, get Rod of Ages, get blue. But the alternative would obviously be shoves in the wave, goes over to the blue, gets it, and then recalls. And now the game's just going to reset. Alice, it's going to go back into a little bit of a mini lull state as Destiny's now back on cooldown. Galio does not have his ultimate, doesn't have Predator available either.
Are you saying that you're not expecting a large amount of action? Because BeryL, he wants to say no. He's looking for Doran here. Decides instead to walk back towards his jungle. So I think I'm starting to agree with you, LS. Nuguri with full control of this minion wave and a CS advantage, despite falling down early. Keria looking to try and start this one up here, as Shelly being considered pretty late as far as Rift Heralds are concerned, 9.5 minutes into the game. It looks like DRX will be able to take this one for themselves, trying to deny DAMWON some of these neutral objective statistics that they have put together for themselves so far this Worlds.
Yeah. They're going to get the Rift Herald. I'm curious where they're actually going to plant this, in what lane.
I think the Jack's probably the one that they want the money to go to.
They're moving up. And now Nidalee actually turns right back around, so it looks like she wants to just clear the Gromp and the Wolves and then maybe begin pathing down towards bottom. The most interesting thing about what's going on right now is DRX have rotated top lane, even though there's a Mountain Dragon up, and DAMWON gets such insane value out of it if they would capture it.
Not to mention all these plates in the bottom lane.
It's definitely bewildering.
It is indeed. Well, Shelly is going to pop out here, so they will be guaranteed a bunch of plates, but they're going to be sharing a lot of the gold between Pyosik, Deft, and Doran.
This is definitely a loss, I think, for DRX, all things considered. And the reason that I say that is because you open up and accelerate top lane, but now this means that Jax has to walk up further in order to interact with Ornn. You lose out on your bottom lane, and now you're going to lose the Mountain Dragon, which just doesn't make any sense because Ornn is going to get so many free stats from it. Graves going to get a lot of value as well. Twisted Fate, already a champion that is traditionally a lot tankier than most mages, and this just feels really bad. Oh, one of the interesting things I'm very surprised about. So Ghost right now may be feeling like he wants to just make sure that he gets the turret, but had he moved up towards the dragon, he'd actually get a legend stack for his bloodline. Traditionally, it's really hard to get stacks on this as AD carry until way later on in the game, but when your team's just getting a free dragon, you can just move on over and you can pick up those stacks really easy.
May not have been considering it at that time, just trying to get DAMWON that turret that they wanted to go for. Now maneuvering their bottom lane here towards the topside river, as Chovy's just as punching himself towards the top lane. It doesn't mean he's punching himself, it's using the ability in order to close distance on the top side of the map. ShowMaker up here, walks over a ward, but we've just got mid laners in the top lane instead. Infinity Edge complete here for Ghost. The Aphelios in a pretty good spot right now. A gigantic CS advantage based on that movement like you were talking about. Ghost definitely the benefactor of that one. And you can see Deft actually getting chunked out in the mid lane just a little bit. Pyosik walking away from Canyon, as it looks like the blue buff is going to be his target, and he will be taking that one for himself as well. As Runic Echo's complete, Canyon with his warrior as well.
Tried to steal it with collateral damage.
Yeah.
Not quite successful.
Able to quite get there. Ghost gets another plate though, LS. This
Aphelios is big.
Yeah, he's basically a chef, and he can feed a large family, I think, at this stage, with the amount of plates that he does have. There's a decent snare to land there on the canyon, but he quick draws to get himself as far away as possible. Not too much follow-up. It's Deft just trying to keep himself in this lane and trying to protect this turret as best he can. With his Manamune stacking up. Manam probably still quite a ways away, despite the Sapphire Crystal start.
And I'm curious what the ornaments are going to be on DAMWON. I'm really hoping that we see a Yumu's Wraithblade out of Canyon. And then obviously Twisted Fate, given that he has the amplifying tome right now, I think that he'll probably just go into Zhonya's. So Zhonya's Paradox will probably end up being his item of choice. Unless you just go straight into a Lich Bane or something, in which case the third item's still very up in the air.
Yep. Could even go for a Death Cap, why not? Is the Death Crown pretty strong? It's Pyosik. He's going to find Canyon here, but Canyon can just take himself the lantern. He'll be absolutely fine, and steals away the red buff. That's called having your cake and eating it too. And DRX going to wander on through, but not going to be able to get Deft any Bramblebacks at this point in time. Checking back in on the gold. I mean, it's still barely a lead for DAMWON. But I mean, this was the same in game number 1. Let's see whether DRX have, you know, gone back, spoken to CVMAX about what they need to change, and I think proactivity in the mid to late game is going to be very important for this squad. 800 gold worth of plates for DRX, but 960 on the side of DAMWON, and you have to look at where that money went as well. Most of it is sitting on Ghost, who is just going to be doing so much damage as this game goes on.
And Ghost is very big right now. He's up 30 farm over his opponents. Now, Deft, he does have the call available. When we look on over at the Jax as well, he went Blade of the Ruin King first, but the laning phase ended very quickly because of the decisions that they made. And so, not getting as much value out of the item early on as he would have liked. And now he moves into the Trinity Force, but that won't be completed until way later on down the road. DAMWON, this is yet another game where they're probably just going to threaten Soul Point.
Well, it's going to be a minute until the Infernal Drake does come up. It means it's either cloudy or rainy, as Ocean and Cloud are going to be our options. Ooh, teleport coming through from DRX here. Looking to get on top, but Doran just going to walk away. Not opting for too much, as there's the heroic entrance. But BeryL is just going to get himself out of there. They do get the flash out of the support. It's a lot of buttons invested, though, as Chovy, he had to use his flash as well. So a few scuffles, but we're still sitting at 1-1.
Yeah.
What was that latest first blood? 24 minutes or something like that? That might be something that we could aim for in game number 3. Lowest kills was 11. We got to 12 at the end of the first game.
Ooh.
So that's another thing that we can aim for.
Canyon electing to start up the Rift Herald. He's trying to sneak it really quick and then maybe use the empowered recall that the Herald gives to get the reset and run over to the Infernal, perhaps anticipating that his teammates can buy enough time.
That snare onto BeryL, no knock up there for Nuguri, as Deft going down pretty low actually. He's very squishy at the moment as Canyon going to be able to grab this Rift Herald and now move towards the Infernal Drake, but Pyosik's already started that one up, and looks like DAMWON just don't really feel like they want to contest for this one.
Yeah.
Okay, Ornn just for some zoning. Keria actually going to flash as there's the taunt. Dragon is going to be secured as DRX want to try and hold on to their outer turret mid, but it's not going to work. Shirley looking for another charge, but her eyes poked out, and Chovy gets rid of her. And the Ocean Soul will be the Drake of the game. 3 Oceans, a possibility for both teams, as ShowMaker is going to take down the outer turret on the top side of the map.
And meanwhile, Doran looking like he's going to raise the bottom tier 1. He's letting as many minions as possible just go into the void.
Yeah, a lot of money getting wasted here as Pyosik's playing goalie, making sure that his Jax isn't going to be in too much trouble. ShowMaker stacking the deck quite a lot at the moment on his Twisted Fate. I got a bit of a fun fact for you. So far, ShowMaker in his career has played 10 games of Twisted Fate. He's lost 1. And that was against DRX in the summer season. I believe it was the first round robin. So we'll see whether Chovy can do it again.
Oh.
Oh no, BeryL dropped his stopwatch. It's now broken.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
You ever drop your phone and break it, get a new one, and then drop it again and break it?
Yep,
Okay.
I've done that. It's not, it doesn't feel good.
No, it doesn't.
Definitely doesn't feel good.
Well, right now in this game, 700 gold lead right now for DAMWON, the Mountain versus the Infernal. And honestly, I really don't know what I'm seeing on Jax. I see a Kindle gem, and I'm starting to get some bad mojo.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Oh no.
We're going places with this one.
Yeah, I think I know whose name is on the front door of this particular establishment,
Absolutely.
LS, and I don't want to talk about him.
Well, DAMWON on the flip side, though, already have the IE on Aphelios, almost has the second core item. It was the Lichbane second for ShowMaker, and so I'm interested to see if he's going to try to go for the Death Crown as his next item of choice.
Hoping for a Magi's first, personally. As, okay, bit of a fight over the Brambleback as the taunt looking to try and come through here. Destiny goes down, Pyosik trying to get himself out of there, does so with the pounce as the heroic entrance comes in, but immediately it's interrupted. 4-man knockup from Nuguri on the backside, but Doran is ripping apart DAMWON and looking to try and escape. ShowMaker gets in, but he gets stunned by the counter-strike as the Empower's there, but it's not enough damage, and ShowMaker takes down the Jax. In the end, it's a very even trade. I think it's DRX that came out on top as in goes Pyosik, wanting to take down Nuguri, but it's Keria that licks him to death over the side. Deft gets over there, takes down Ghost, and now ShowMaker against the world. Deft wrapping around. Gold card has been locked for ShowMaker here, but a 1 versus 3 not looking like something they're going to be able to do here as the Piercing Darkness comes down, and Deft just needs one more auto and he will be able to take this one out. 6-2 in favor of DRX.
And DRX, with that fight, they catapult themselves into the driver's seat now in this game. They're the ones with the advantage, and they were sitting on some major core item completions. All of this started over a red buff canyon. He got caught by Chovy. Doran was able to get on top of him. BeryL didn't have a stopwatch available inside of this fight. Not that it was going to matter all that much. ShowMaker a little bit late on the pull with the gold card. Otherwise, Nuguri might have been able to help him bring down Doran and conserve his flash right here. They go back in for no reason. Nuguri gets tagged by a sphere. He tries to headbutt into the wall to knock up Pyosik on his leap. Not quite able to do so. Deft goes over the wall, picks up the kills, and when all is said and done, DRX, they now have the gold lead, and they're going to be the ones in the driver's seat, at least for the next couple of minutes. DAMWON, they really need to bide their time for the ornaments to come in, wait for major core item completions. Ghost, he was sitting on Runons inside of that fight, but didn't yet have it completed.
Yeah, he had the gold, but couldn't actually put it together. You're exactly right.
Ooh.
Definitely a worry. Pyosik fishing for some spears off to the side as we've got 35 seconds on the first Ocean Drake of the game. BeryL clearing out vision. DAMWON feels like for the first time on the back foot, but not that much. I mean, it's 1.6k. As far as gold is concerned, not really a huge deal. And I want to alert you to something else as well. Nuguri is now on 0-2.
Ooh.
Let that sink in.
Power spike is here.
It is indeed. Let's see whether it works out. He did get that 4-man knockup, which was pretty damn strong in the last team fight, but Doran was ripping apart the backline at that point in time. It worked out very well for DRX. This Drake looking to just belong. DRX right now, Pyosik just going to be taking that one down by himself. Split pushing is ShowMaker, is now the rest of DAMWON looking for an engagement. No out of turret, remember, as Keria finding himself a tongue lash. No, not quite. On to Ghost. Takes a lantern to get himself to safety. Ocean Drake in the meantime going to be taken, and DRX now trading up in these small scuffles and skirmishes. The opposite of what was happening in game number 1, where any sort of interaction between the two teams, it was always DAMWON coming out ahead.
Yeah. DAMWON were always the ones who were coming out with these slight edges time and time again, and then just eventually letting the game collapse onto them. Getting an update on Senna here, 42 souls, 55% crit for Deft. here at almost 23 minutes. Nuguri has hit 13. Canyon, I imagine, very close to the Black Cleaver completion. Looks like Rapid Fire Cannon gonna be the next item for ShowMaker, and so there is still time. There's 2 ornaments that are on the side of DAMWON that are gonna be able to be upgraded as soon as Ornn starts hitting his levels, and they're really gonna need that in order to have more edges stacked up for them, because DRX, they're in a very comfortable position. Doran, he almost has the Trinity Force completed.
Yeah, actually just sitting on that Kindle Gem for the extra CDR. So wasn't deciding to build into the Black Cleaver. Maybe just wanted to have, you know, the CDR right then and there. I'm glad he didn't collect himself the Black Cleaver though. Much prefer the Trinity Force on the Jax. And there it is. Now it's completed. Blade of the Ruin King and Trinity 4. Big power spike for the Jax. As Canyon takes a fair bit of damage from the Baron there.
Yeah.
Gets out with a quick draw though. 1,000 gold going to be the lead here for DRX.
And in terms of levels right now, Ghost is even with Deft. Canyon, I believe, is down 1 level. But then everyone else is pretty much even. We take a look at the vision score right now. Pyosik and Keria doing a pretty good job. BeryL and Canyon trailing ever so slightly.
This is a lot of vision control, actually, that Pyosik's been able to put down this game as well, and it might explain why DRX have been able to actually find themselves some objectives when in game number 1 they weren't able to. Of course, Ghost has Crescendum Calibrum right now, exactly when he needs them. Fair bit of ammo left on that one as well, as there's the Ornn. Nuguri looks for the knock-up onto Keria, as he doesn't get it with the Searing Charge. Oh my goodness, so many roots, but DAMWON are going to escape for the minute. Ghost on half health, the rest of DAMWON have turned up. DRX are pushing forward. Wildcards do not find anyone here, as Doran in the meantime is just on the bottom side, pushing forward. Nuguri gonna get spotted on that ward, as the Searing Charge avoided beautifully by Doran there. Now looking for the 1v1, but there is a turret.
Yep.
In a pretty good position. Bramble Vest as well helping Nuguri in these trades, but not quite enough, as you can see. Collateral damage, not going to be enough to keep that turret alive. DRX aggressive, pushing, taking objectives.
Yeah, and DRX, they're slowly but surely continuously just taking cuts at DAMWON, chipping away at everything. Nuguri has upgraded the Molten Edge onto Aphelios. And I assume that he's very close to level 15, so Canyon's gonna get his upgrade next. So in a minute and a half, when that Ocean Dragon does end up coming up, I expect a team fight to unfold. And when you look at the DRX members right now, Nidalee has Fiendish Codex, has Stopwatch. She's pretty much having Zanya's.
Yep.
So even when she completes the item, not a whole lot changing. Jax has now hit his 2-item spike. Galio gonna be the same champion for about the next 10 minutes almost? Looks like he's going Banshee's Veil as his next item. Senna's now at 3 items. She's gonna have ways to go until she completes her 4th. And so there's a lot of upside coming for DAMWON in the next couple of minutes, whereas DRX now, they're gonna start slowing down. But if they can win this next Ocean Dragon fight, the game gets very scary.
Yeah, because they are going to win in a split push scenario. Jax is going to scale much better in that regard than what Nuguri is going to be able to do. Relatively capable with some certain build trickery that you can throw down as the Ornn, but definitely not going to have priority in that situation. As you can see, the goal graph, it's ticked over to a bit more of a DRX game here. DAMWON just looking to try and salvage their vision. Pyosik making it quite dark for them though. Puts a trap over, and now DAMWON will be able to get in there. And with 18 seconds left on this Ocean Drake, definitely a good time to start getting things in order. Heroic entrance going to be available from Chovy, but he's actually standing with the rest of his team as Doran looking for a little bit of a flank. That's going to be the route. But it's BeryL that they've decided they want to take down first. He's going to flash away. It's a decent knock-up. The hook is going to land onto Chovy. Dawning Shadow keeps everyone alive as the Ornn is denied. You can see Nuguri still very healthy. And look at the AoE. ShowMaker flashes forward. That's going to be the Devour, but it's going to cost the life of Keria. And now in comes DAMWON, obliterating DRX. The Justice Punch will be stopped. No justice for you today, Chovy. As DAMWON, they say you can have your Ocean Drake if you want it. We're going to take the Baron.
Oh, and I like it, Nuguri. He turns around I think he's going, yeah, it looks like he's going over to the Ocean Dragon. He acknowledges, wait a second, there's a Cougar on the loose. He's heading on over to the Dragon. Ornn will beat Nidalee in this 1v1, and it looks like that is what's gonna happen.
Yeah, Smite comes in, and no, it's a big Forge God as well as a Dragon that he has to fight as he pounces out of the way, but this will mean even on the Drakes. And I have a feeling Pyosik isn't going to escape this one either, as, yeah, I think Cougar hunting is exactly what DAMWON are doing. Goodbye, Pyosik, and DRX, it was looking good until it absolutely wasn't.
And it was really looking like DAMWON were just going to lose this fight. BeryL was really missing his stopwatch at this moment right here. He flashes forward. Chovy didn't get the taunt that he was looking for. Really good searing charge into the Ornn ultimate, just knocking up everyone. Deft can't interact in this team fight. Ghost able to heal back up a lot of HP. ShowMaker with a lot of good control. Aphelios jumps forward, reminding them how many years old he is, as DRX just couldn't do anything in the extended team fight. They had that one window, and then as soon as they all go on cooldown, they really just run out of fuel fast.
Yeah, and I don't know whether they're going to get any more fuel in this particular game, LS, as DAMWON now moving towards this inner turret in the mid lane. Now going to be able to take that one. We'll see whether they break the base. It is 29 minutes. The game has actually aged quite a lot, as it is still only 7 versus 7 as far as kills. DRX will be able to keep this inhibitor turret alive for a little bit longer. That's some good poke onto Canyon, actually.
Well, Savant Maker here with the Executioners on Twisted Fate, not making any of his other teammates have to suffer in the gold department.
That's beautiful, because he's going to be picking targets as well.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
He's going to be auto-attacking a lot, and so he'll be the one to apply the Grievous Wounds, and this allows Canyon and Ghost to continue to power into other items.
That's stunning.
Well,
that's a big loss for Boris. He's been trying to sell that book, man. I don't know. Maybe he's out of stock.
Well, Namakon's never out of stock.
Well, DAMWON, they're looking to take this turret off the shelves, and they will be able to do so quite easily. Here's the gold graph. We're having a peek back at it yet again, and now it's swung back towards DAMWON, as we've got a 4,000 gold Baron power play at the minute. 45 seconds until that one's done, as you can see, Doran was looking for Canyon and unable to close the gap. And DRX, it's feeling like game one all over again, LS. I don't know what they're going to do, but they need to do something.
They definitely do. And I like this. Look at the swap off. Twisted Fate sells his Executioners, gets the Zhonya's, and Graves immediately picks it up. And so now Zhonya's Paradox was completed.
Yep, that's going to be his ornament of choice. Very
BeryL,
nice.
Yeah, he has Zeke's and he has Mikhail. So it looks like he's not going to get the Salvation ornament upgrade this game, but not going to be the end of the world. When we take a look at all the levels as well right now, Chovy is down 1 level, Deft down a level to Ghost. That's about it. The game still relatively even, but there is a lot of hidden gold on the side of DAMWON that the gold graph at the top doesn't tell you about.
Yeah. Does tell you about a bit of it. Of course, Twisted Fate just liking to pilfer a lot more money than most other champions, but you're right, these ornaments really stacking up as DRX on the ropes, trying to defend against DAMWON. As we noted before, the 0-2 power spike for Nuguri, he was 0-2-0 and is now 1-2 and 4. See whether that scoreline's going to look better, as he's a very, very tanky boy. Warmog's now complete. Great spear to land on a Ghost, actually. And not a lot of sustain on DAMWON, so now going to back away. Still 4,000 plus gold in the lead. But this was a game that belonged to DRX.
Yeah. And DRX, they were so far ahead at one point, but then just one blunder and everything went away. DAMWON, more and more items continuing to come in. Bloodthirst now on Aphelios, so it's not actually going to be the Death's Dance that traditionally comes out on Aphelios. Meanwhile, on the flip side, though, Warmog's completed for Ornn.
Indeed. The Infinity Edge done for Deft, so if you're a David Freak Turley, just don't look. doesn't like that item choice very, very much. But with Deft, he just wanted to build it. Get as much damage there as possible. We'll have a fair bit of crit as well at this stage of the game. It's Pyosik trying to get vision in where he can. 10 seconds until this Ocean Drake will be soul point for whoever picks this one up. Chovy looking to try and get in there. Banshee's popped. We'll have Protobelt back available pretty soon, and also can join the fight at any stage. He'll pick up the mid-minion wave.
Oh, this is a really terrible angle fight for DRX, though. They're running into Ornn, unless Nuguri presses his R.
Yeah, that's going to be the knock-up onto Deft, though. Great Devour comes through. It is going to be the Drake secured by DAMWON, but can they win the subsequent team fight? Doran diving forward, but DAMWON just reform the Phalanx, and now look for the re-engage. Piercing Darkness keeps DRX alive, but DAMWON, they got what they came for. Now they'll move away.
Well, let's see what they're going to be able to do. Facing Soul Point now, Nuguri, he's going to clear in one more wave. And I don't know what DRX is really anticipating here. Baron's about to come up as well. That dance around the most recent Ocean Dragon is also telling us what to probably expect around this Baron. It's going to be pretty similar. Jax does not have his item completed. As we mentioned before, Chovy, he's stuck on these same items for such a long time. He's trying to get into the Rabadon's death cap. Nidalee, she's picked up a blasting one, eye edge on Senna, so a little bit of loss to Shopkeeper. Boris very happy. But DAMWON, on the flip side though, they haven't really gotten any major items either. ShowMaker must be piling a lot of gold. He's been sitting on those control wards with the same inventory for quite a while.
Yep. All right, there's the Gravitum. He's going to land the stun as Zhonya's is going to be popped here, but the Kitty Cat doesn't have a lot of options. Oh my god! Is able to keep him alive with the Devourer's Keria, and even the collateral damage not enough to finish off the Cougar. DAMWON, though, now they get the flash out of Pyosik, they get his health bar extremely low, and now they have full control of this Baron. Doran off to the side, will get a control ward into this Baron pit, but that's going to be the face check from Chovy. He's a bit of a tanky boy, does have himself the Zhonyas, as he's looking to try and get himself out, and yet again, I think I've seen that play before, as Keria gets his gargoyle to safety as well.
That is a tanky boy. As Pyosik.
That's the flash gold card. Doran over the top, trying to get himself in there. There's the heroic entrance. They're trying to keep Pyosik alive, but it fails. And that is going to be mid-jungle already dead. DAMWON picked as many fights as they could, trying to stop that Devour from keeping everyone alive. And they were able to do it successfully the third time. Now they'll be able to break open the base and take probably the safest Baron, if they would like to, unless they just want to try and push through for the win. Deft and Doran, they're going to try and hold on to these Nexus turrets. Keria going to be there as well. Great double knock up there from Nuguri. Devour comes through onto Deft, but now that's going to be on cooldown, and the stun is going to land. The Senna taken down off the backline as Canyon takes matters into his own hands. Keria, he had a stopwatch, but he now doesn't have his life, and a second Nexus for DAMWON will be taken. This team looking unstoppable today.
Yeah, they managed to pull it back in game number 2 off the back of really good team fighting. And DRX, with the team comp they had, with the position they had in the game, this is really scary because moving into game number 3, what does it really say? I'm not really sure, but DAMWON, they're looking very poised to just take this 3-0.
Yeah, this is really, really, really dangerous because now DAMWON will move back to the blue side, and this is definitely their more winningest side. I have, of course, been talking about that quite a lot today. However, that is a lot of wins on blue side over quite a large period of time, and DAMWON have only looked better and better and better as these last few months have passed, and that obviously hasn't been dropping off here. These games have just been in so much control.
The scariest thing is that they're putting the carry on Doran in that game. They're putting Chovy on Galio. Now, Galio is one of his favorite and I think premier champions that he actually has in his inventory. But again, this circles back to obviously no one else is getting the job done. So if DRX is going to have a chance, Chovy probably has to be on a champion that can just take over the game by himself.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the Galio hasn't been it, but he was able to keep up in farm really well.
Yeah.
The early game was decent. It's a little bit of a danger, but to get a behind-the-scenes look on how the 2020 Anthem came to be, we can hear from all the major players who helped create the Anthem and their motivation behind its development. The episode drops on October 29th, and you can listen free exclusively on Spotify. And that will do it for us, and we'll see you back for game number 3 after we hear from our analysts.
Playing with matches, come out of the ashes underneath you. A million voices in the crowd, they're screaming, stop now. Well, let them swallow the pride, you're turning the tide to true believers. Got them in the palm of your hand, you're playing God now. What you gonna do now? It's your reflection looking back to pull you down. So are you gonna die today or make it out alive? You gotta conquer the monster in your head and then you'll fly, fly, Phoenix fly. It's time for a new empire. Go bury your teammates, then tear down the ceiling. Phoenix fly. So are you gonna die today or make it out alive? You gotta conquer the monster in your head and then you'll fly, fly.
Welcome back, everyone, to the State Farm Analyst Zone. I want to take a minute here to look at probably the deciding fight in this second game between DAMWON and DRX. Now, DRX got off to a pretty good start here in this game. It was pretty even leading into this fight, but I want to look at how they tried to use Doran to get into this fight and then DAMWON's patience to turn it around and ultimately come away with the victory. Right from the start, you can see that Doran is going to be down here all the way in the river. There's not a lot of vision, so his pathway towards the rest of his team is going to be pretty clear here for the most part as he comes in on the side. But normally, we'd think about these top laners and you'd say, oh, well, doesn't he want to go for like this big flank around, try to come in from behind and really attack DAMWON's backline? Well, that's not necessarily the case for DRX in this game. Because they have the Senna and the Nidalee, they really want to make sure he's within range so we can get those heals and stay alive. So for DRX, they have to hit frontline first, but as you can see here, that ends up being a bit of a problem for them. BeryL and Nuguri, they're standing inside the brush right from the start, and BeryL's the one that gets picked off. Didn't see Doran coming around from the side, so he is going to instantly fall down. But look at this. Chovy's taunt only hits onto the Thresh. He was so close to a big 5-man taunt, but it does not come through. This means that everything from DRX is spent onto the Thresh. They don't get any value out of the Galio ult, and that right there, Doran uses his E. As soon as Doran's E goes down, he does not have the ability to jump into the backline, because then all of a sudden the Aphelios damage is going to be able to come through. The gold cards from Twisted Fate are going to be a big problem as well. So at the start of this fight, it's a pick from DAMWON. They end up getting caught out, but they're able to turn it around no problem here, because Nuguri is just so unbelievably tanky. They also held on to ShowMaker's ultimate, so he's able to flash forward for the gold card, get the first kill, and then port into the back while Nuguri waits for that flash E into the turret for that multi-man knock-up to turn things around and make sure they win that game. And this entire comp from DRX felt like it was really focused on making sure this Jax could get a lead, could play in these fights well, but as you saw right there, just one mistake, getting picked off, putting too much onto a tank frontliner and not a carry means you're going to lose a lot. I want to head over to our other analysts here as we chat about the rest of this game.
Yeah, and I'd love to take this opportunity to talk about kind of the Jax, but also top lane priority and the way the games are played and won in this meta and at the 2020 World Championship. Because to me, it seems like if you're going to run the Jax, especially into DAMWON's composition, you have to have a set of circumstances of things you need to hit for that to succeed. Could you lay those out for me, Yamato, and what actually happened in the game?
I think the key thing when you are picking something like a Jax is that you want to be in a situation where the Soul Drake happens very late into the game. You want to use the fact that you are stronger in skirmish and more isolated situations for as long as possible. If you're forced to be in team fights too early, you're going to be in trouble. That's why we like seeing the champion like Camille, because she can do everything. She can be a good, strong team fighter. She can be a good setup for your jungler. She is always good and strong in any case of the scenario. Another one, the big issue here with Jax into Ornn is that Ornn is also best friends with Tahm, because by the time Jax begins to knock on turrets, Ornn just starts building items.
Yeah, and we even saw like once or twice down in the bottom lane, Jax with a fully stacked passive goes for a trade into a Jax and still only goes 50-50. So it wasn't like he was able to, going up into the Ornn. So it wasn't even like he was able to hard win through a side lane. You also start to see a lot of globals being put around a strong split pusher, and as soon as that happens, well, the ability to actually step forward and hit turrets when a TF is involved, even with a counter-strike, which is really strong in a TF, does become diminished.
Feels awkward because I actually wanted to show us the replay of when it was going well for Jax, but we could actually look at it because this was when I started to get a bit more hopeful, because ideally you want your Jax to get a bit fed, to get a couple of kills, to make sure that he can do something versus that Ornn later in the lane specifically, or in the team fights, Yamato.
I think the key issue here is just that
Look
the
at
position.
Ornn,
oh,
the 4-man!
I'm just looking at the weapons of Ghost, and he, right now with the change to Aphelios, he is very, very conditional and like, depending on what weapons he has, he can do a lot of damage in those situations. Like if he had the flamethrower, maybe DRX's position would be worse, but DRX were just way too compact. They one-shot the Graves, and Ghost on the Aphelios couldn't really do much in this fight, and Jax definitely delivered in that situation.
Jax delivered, and then you think, well, hey, now they're set up for success. So let me try and simplify this, and you can tell me if I'm wrong or not. If you're a team like DRX, who you know that you are in essence worse than DAMWON, right? That's what we have to expect. So you have to be able to have the right compositions and the right moments in that game. Is it in that scenario a bad decision to go for the Jason in game 1, but a Jax specifically in this game, where they have a full team fight comp and an Ornn that will be able to withstand everything? Are you better off, like you said at the end of game 1, just to build your comp with a tank top laner and make sure you have other things you can work around?
I think that's the easy way of patching up the issues with DRX.
Okay.
I think if they are the ones that are playing the Ornn and they have lanes that they can actually play through in the early game, I think DRX actually showed some promise in the early game. But when their composition needed to do something else in the mid game to late game, something else than just run into the enemy, kind of run them down and just annihilate them, that's when the issues came in for DRX. So just simplicity in the mid to late game, make sure that you streamline the game early on, because that's where your strengths lie.
Yeah, I mean, you talk about simplicity. It's so much harder to execute on a comp where all the resources are being funneled into a melee champion as opposed to some sort of like ranged DPS backline. So if all of a sudden you're playing a tank in the top lane and instead of a Galio in mid, it's, a Tristana, Caspia, Syndra, any of these ranged backliners that can pump out DPS, or something besides a Senna in the bottom lane, it becomes much easier to walk into a 5 versus 5 and way less conditional.
Yeah, it just seems that for DRX, they have to find an answer and they have to find it quickly. They are up against it. DAMWON is just stronger in every aspect of the game for now. It is do or die for DRX as they are on the verge of being swept once again.